scratched from the podium. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. All right, good afternoon. What a beautiful day to be here in Prescott. Since I first took office, my administration has worked with state, local, and federal leaders to address issues that permeate our state as a result of federal inaction on our southern border. In the discussions that I've had with sheriffs from across the state, including Sheriff Rhodes here with us today, I have heard about the strain put on local law enforcement due to a lack of resources. Whether it's a lack of officers in the field or outdated technology, our counties have not been given the tools they need to succeed. But that ends now. In order to provide ongoing support to our local communities and address the specific needs of our rural areas, I'm pleased to announce grant awards today totaling over $1.5 million for Yavapai County. These funds will be distributed between the Prescott Valley Police Department the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, and will expand law enforcement's capability and capacity across Arizona. Previously, this type of funding was used for political stunts that didn't effectively help law enforcement do their jobs. Under my administration, working closely with cities and counties, we'll continue to carefully evaluate and identify the specific needs of each area and tailor the support to those needs. For example, these funds will support the Partners Against Narcotics Trafficking Task Force, which is a multi-agency, multi-jurisdictional task force focused on stopping drug and human trafficking through Yavapai County en route to other locations in the state and country. This work is critical to keeping Arizona communities safe and healthy. We know that crimes that happen at the southern border don't stay there. It's important that every county is well equipped to prevent harmful activities from reaching their community. I made a promise to Arizona that I would put politics aside and bring people together to strategically tackle our state's biggest issues. This funding reflects not only that promise, but my commitment to continue working closely with county law enforcement to ensure a safer Arizona. Thank you to Sheriff Rhodes, Chief Amy Bonney, Chief Bob Tyser, and Supervisor Gregory for your work and for being here today. And with that, I'll hand it off to Sheriff Rhodes.
Good afternoon, I'm Yavapai County Sheriff David Rhodes, and I would just like to start by thanking Governor Katie Hobbs for supporting law enforcement and public safety here in Yavapai County, the Arizona Legislature for making these appropriations available, the Arizona Division of Emergency Management for working through the grant processes as well. And I'd like to thank Governor Hobbs and her staff for visiting the new Yavapai County Criminal Justice Facility today. We're talking about really what is the future of re-entering criminal justice at the county jail level today. We're very excited about that. As the governor pointed out, we know that the crimes related to the surge at the southern border do not stay there. After dissipation, people, they start to settle in different areas, Arizona's communities and whatnot, and these become local government and local public safety problems. And the only way to combat these problems is through partnerships, shared resources, and collaborations. And that's what we're doing here today. The funding that is coming, the $1.5 million, doesn't even actually include another $600,000 that Governor Hobbs' office appropriated to Yavapai County Sheriff's Office only about a month ago. So there is a strong commitment from the state, from the Governor's office to fund and assist public safety, not just here in Yavapai County, but all over the state. As president of the Arizona Sheriff's Association, we're working with sheriffs all across the state, not just the border sheriffs, to bring funding and resources to those areas. We're very grateful. This funding is going to go to support our narcotics. It's actually our smuggling task force, which is a multi-agency task force, as she mentioned, PANT, Partners Against Narcotics Trafficking, to really combat the unbelievable and outrageous surge of fentanyl, human smuggling, sex trafficking, that's going on all over the state. And I think that now is the time to be creative, collaborative, and do things that we have not done in the past to support communities across the state. So I'm very grateful to the governor and her staff, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Tyson.
Thank you, Sheriff Rhodes. My name is Bob Tyser. I'm the Chief of Police in Prescott Valley, and I want to thank the Governor for being here today, as our good sheriff said. When it comes to combating violence related to fentanyl and other dangerous drugs that come across our border and make their way up into our communities, it takes an effort of many people, every community, and all law enforcement working together. We have a strong traditional history here in Yavapai County with PANT. We've heard that, the acronym for Partners Against Narcotics Trafficking, with agencies spread out throughout this county. And we know that people who choose to harm our community members, who choose to harm victims through human trafficking, through smuggling, through narcotics trafficking, it happens at the local level. We've worked together for many years together, very collaboratively, as the sheriff said, but today is an opportunity to find additional funds, which we're very thankful that the governor has provided and our legislature has provided to support us, because there's only so much funding that goes around at local levels. To get the support from the state to be able to help combat this type of crime is really paramount, and we are very grateful for that. We're looking forward to continuing collaboration and work with our governor, and thank you, Governor Hobbs, for the support that you've provided to us. It goes a long ways, and it really means a lot, not just to the law enforcement community so we can do our jobs, but to the community, that they know we have the support, resources, and dollars to go ahead and combat these crimes that victimize many Arizonans and people in our communities. So thank you very much for having us today, and we really appreciate it.
All right, so we can take a few questions. Gloria, if you have any questions.
Sure. For Sheriff Rhodes, what kind of increases have you seen over the years as far as fentanyl and immigration, at least in this area, northern Arizona?
So, to answer that question, of course, fentanyl is unfortunately the number one problem that we're seeing in this area, not just in this area, but across the state. The Partners Against Narcotics Trafficking in 2022 alone seized over a million fentanyl pills. They're working currently on collaborative investigations that stretch all the way to the border and beyond. But we also see things like human smuggling. You see people that are being forced to come, and forced labor. We're investigating sex trafficking. We are getting calls that we just haven't really got before, and we're dealing with things that we really haven't seen. And I think it's important to note that local law enforcement was never really built. Community policing were not built community police were not built to deal with the kind of transnational, multi-billion-dollar organizations that fuel this surge into our communities. And that's why we need to be creative and out of the box and work with our partners.
Right. And for Governor Hobbs, I know most of the fentanyl that comes through the ports of entry. So what kind of focus are you sort of giving to border communities versus here up north, where it seems like it's less of an issue, maybe?
Yeah, we're certainly looking to spread the resources across the state where they're needed. As was mentioned, some of the drugs do get through; they're not apprehended at the border, so we need to make sure the resources are all over. But we have had a particular focus on the border communities, making sure that we're providing support for local law enforcement there as well. We also just broke ground on the improvements to the San Luis Port of Entry, and there's several cross-border infrastructure projects going on that will enhance security at our ports of entry and assist with those interdictions.
Okay. And for Chief and perhaps Sheriff Rhodes, you had mentioned that they come and settle here. So what kind of assurances could the existing immigrant community have that they won't be targeted?
When we use the word targeting, we're
Sure.
targeting smugglers and drug traffickers. That's who we are interested in stopping. That's what our community desires, is for law enforcement to stop the people who are trafficking in dangerous drugs and trafficking in people who are victimized through either the sex slaves or forced labor, as the sheriff said. So that's what our community should hear, is we are looking to stop the people who are doing that or victimizing our community members.
Right.
I want
I
to make sure
think-
Cindy gets a few in.
Yeah, can I just get one
Yeah.
quick follow-up?
Yeah.
I think a couple years ago, your office perhaps had mentioned that you wouldn't look into an immigrant's legal status when they report a crime. Is that still true?
Immigration is a federal issue. As far as checking and verifying legal status, that's not occurring at the local level.
Okay.
That's not our job duties.
Thank you.
Go for it.
So I know one of the local issues is finding the staff, needs of qualified staff, and I was wondering if this money or any other state measures kind of can help with that. Recruiting, retaining qualified staff.
Thank you, Cindy. Yes, we were just having this discussion before we walked in. Recruiting and retaining public safety staff is a #1 priority for all of us. It's very difficult right now. There's a number of strategies that we're putting in place. Compensation has been one of them, but that's not the only thing. Obviously, there's affordable housing issues, but then there is a general hangover of the view of law enforcement from the last several years, and a number of people, in our estimation and our experience, are afraid to get back into the business. And so I would say to them that now is a very good time to be looking at a career in law enforcement. It is a good, honorable, noble career. You can make a good, honest living at it, and it's absolutely necessary for our nation to function.
But are there any state just initiatives to kind of help the local agencies with that issue?
I have one comment and then I'll turn it over to you, but last year, the Arizona sheriffs worked with the Arizona legislature to get $54 million appropriated for hiring and retention bonuses for sheriff's deputies and sheriff's detention staff. And that was spread out over 2 years, and it was having an impact, but not the desired impact. So this year we asked to condense that. We ran a bill, condensed that into 1 year of funding. Governor Hobbs signed that bill to help us get that money pushed out and help people get in. We're also talking about, there's discussions about pension reforms around some of the particularly court retirement, which is your correction officer retirement pension system. When pension reform occurred in 2017, 2018, that was an overreach in the estimation, in my own estimation, and the estimation of the Arizona sheriffs. They eliminated the pension system primarily, almost entirely, for correction officer employees, and we need to claw some of that back. So we're looking forward to work on that in the next legislative session.
Your question was an excellent one about support coming in for local law enforcement. The Department of Education here in our state is supporting the school resource officers in our communities. Local school districts and even charter schools right now are applying through those grants or through the grants through the state, and we are securing additional police officers to work in our schools on the school resource officer program. That is huge because we know that children are the most precious commodity in our community, and we can also tackle the things that we're talking about today: smuggling, trafficking of people, and narcotics trafficking. So putting those additional resources out in our schools is super important, and I know our community is very grateful, so Governor, we appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Does anyone have any others, or we can wrap it?
I have one more question if
Yeah.
nobody does. What exactly, can you give us an idea of numbers of what this kind of funding will be able to help with? Any increases in staffing you foresee maybe that are needed?
An example of the
Just a clearer picture of what the funding will pay for. or what the gap or the need is?
Well, primarily, we're focused on the corrections side, which includes the Arizona Sheriff's and the Arizona Department of Corrections. There's about 2,500 vacancies statewide, and about 1,800 of those are at the Arizona Department of Corrections, about 500 are at Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, about 60 are right here at Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, the number that we need to open this facility. On the law enforcement side, vacancies are, in the several thousand. I don't have an exact number, but I hear from the larger agencies that are carrying, 500, 600, 700 vacancies. Arizona DPS, a couple hundred vacancies. And it's a topic everywhere we go. Every agency across the state is a topic.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna wrap it. Thanks, everyone. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to email us.